Hi again! So I made a video talking about what I love about the Stormlight Archive. Now I just want to address certain issues I have with this series. It's not like me hating on the book or anything like that, because I do like those books. I had a great time reading them. I'm looking forward to read the last two, but I just wanted to discuss my complaints and then maybe see after I finish the next two books, I can maybe address those things again and make some, I want to, when I finish the whole series, I want to do another video with just discussing the whole story. I did mention some of those complaints in my Oathbringer review discussion video, but I will try to add more to it. These books have good characters, good world building, good magic system, they're interesting, they're exciting, and so on and so on. But my main issue with these books is the lack of character interactions. That's my main issue. And now I understand that this is just the style of the book, and this is maybe how Brandon has decided to tell the story, and each author has different things that they're interested in, and there are some things that they like to develop more, other less, and so on and so on. But me, as a reader, I like character interactions, and I like how characters' relationships are built. So this for me is lacking. It's not missing entirely. There are some character moments, like when Shallan and Kaladin had some interesting conversations, then maybe Adolin and Shallan, maybe Shallan with Dalinar and Navani. But there are these moments, but they're just so rare. Most of the time, characters are having their inner monologue or their inner struggle. Or sometimes Kaladin is talking to Syl, which is great, but I don't know, Syl is a friend, and she, as much as she's trying to understand people, it's not the same. Like, Kaladin and Syl have a very strong connection, but their connection is different. I don't know how to explain it. I would be more interested to see Kaladin building a relationship with some of the other characters. And by relationship, I mean all kinds of. It could be friendship, it could be him and Dalinar kind of mutual respect or something like that. Most of the time when characters speak, it's they're discussing their plan or they're joking, just like a bit superficial. For example, I like when Adolin and Kaladin are having some little talks, and Adolin is kind of picking on him, and sometimes they're bickering. This is all fun, but I just feel I wish we explore more about these relationships. The focus is a lot about overcoming trauma and about each character growing and struggling and overcoming obstacles and so on and so on. This is so interesting, but I feel like people's relationships are also interesting. It's not like these things are not present. They are. Like the relationship with Bridge 4, it's great. The way these guys come together is great. But it's just like it lacks some depth at times. It lacked some more quiet moments between them. It lacked some even conflict between them. Or even if it's there, it's not very detailedly explored. And I just feel like this is intentional, because this is not the main focus of the story. And I think I accept that now. I understand that now. I'm not expecting it anymore. I like, for example, when Lift and Zed interacted and they had to fight together and it was fun. But I don't think they will ever have any other conversation. Yeah, I don't know, something is lacking for me there. It's very hard to put into words. I expected more because the character work is good, because we have so much character nuance. I felt like this is going to translate into the relationships, but it didn't to the point I liked. But now that I know what to expect, I really think I will adjust my expectations, so it will be fine. Now, let's say something about Bridge 4. The idea of it, it's cool. I like the idea of it. These people found a new purpose and the whole brotherhood between them. But I felt like it was a bit of a missed opportunity for some of them to not be so good. Like, you can say, okay, Muash was the rotten egg, but I feel maybe more of them should have been harder to change, because most of them were like slaves or criminals or people with questionable past, and that's why they ended up at Bridge 4. And then suddenly all of them are these honorable men. It felt a bit strange. Like, that's why, for example, I like that Theft had this problem with the drugs because it shows that, oh, actually he there is a reason why he ended up there. And I feel like I would have loved for more of those men to be flawed, because they have to be flawed to end up there, you know? This was all very optimistic and nice how they changed, and there were not enough problems there, internal problems inside the group. I mean, they saved Dalinar, but then Dalinar is just trusting them to be these protective guards. That felt a bit strange to me. I understand the idea of it, but I felt like it had opportunity for more conflict there, for more problems. But it's okay. Another thing I maybe don't like so much is that sometimes the characters are not progressing enough. I don't mind if they don't always progress, but I feel like, especially in Oathbringer, Shallan was very much stuck in her condition. That's okay, but maybe because we have Dalinar's journey and so on, maybe we could have less of Shallan and maybe learn more about Yasna and then go back to Shallan when she has advanced a little bit. Because I just feel like it would be more interesting if she progresses and meets new problems rather than just trying to deal with the same problem again and again. She has a lot of external problems, like she's fighting the Unmade, she's investigating. She had a little bit like Kaladin, like this complex of trying to help. She was feeding on the people on the street because this was something within her control. But then the split personality problem sometimes overcomes everything else. I hope she can have a new problem. Sometimes we don't have to spend so much time with somebody if we are just repeating the same thing. But this doesn't happen so often. I mean, even with Shallan, it's not as bad. It's not all the time. Like, don't get me wrong, I feel like she does have some advancement, and I do actually like her. I'm interested to read her chapters. She always do something interesting, but sometimes the split personality thing is just too much. Sometimes, not always, sometimes. My other complaint, or not that complaint, but maybe something that I don't like so much, is how information is revealed. I feel like sometimes it is given to characters at the right moment, like when the story is ready for this information to appear, it just appears very easily. Somebody's telling them, or they just have, or just Yasna's taking out the book. Oh, look what I found, and I found it in the right moment. I feel like this review of information could have been done better in certain things, and sometimes I feel like there is this NPC syndrome, like somebody is coming and giving them information and telling them what they have to do next. Sometimes a story needs to be convenient. Some things needs to happen at the right moment, at the right time, or we have no story. So it's not such a big issue. I just wish it could happen less. I feel like it, Oathbringer, it was happening more and more frequently. And then I have mixed feelings about Hoyt. On one side, I really like him. He's fun, mysterious. I like his interaction with others. On the other hand, the fact that he appears whenever the story needs him and he so conveniently helps Shallan feels a bit, I don't know, it's not my favorite thing in a story when somebody just appears. It's not a bad thing, but I wouldn't expect this to happen in this story. I would expect it to happen in a different kind of story. Maybe like a young adult coming of age story when the hero is struggling and maybe there is a mentor or somebody who appears to help them. But here, I feel like Shallan maybe needs more to connect with the people around her rather than having this person just appear whenever she needs him. And I feel like Shallan is really missing this parental figure, and maybe she needs it to find it in somebody because of her past. But I feel like this parental figure could be somebody else, and this could be an opportunity for her to build that kind of relationship with somebody else. It doesn't have to be necessarily, I don't know, Navani or Dalinar. It could be some other side character, but some character who is there rather than somebody who disappear. Another thing, I don't really like Adolin and Shallan's relationship, in the sense that it was cute at the beginning, but then they got married, and let's see how it's going to progress. Because of course sometimes people get married before they're ready for it, and they figure out their relationship later. But I feel like their relationship is not yet based on enough trust in each other. Like Adolin says, oh, I know the real you, but he doesn't really know so much about her. I don't know, I feel like he doesn't really know her all that well. And just because he knows her fun, joking side and her silly side, I don't think that's enough. Why does he like her so much? I mean, he was such a ladies' man, right? And now he likes Shallan. Why? I mean, I could understand why she liked him more. Like, he's some kind of a support for her. He's handsome and young and fun, and he's everything that she isn't. But why does he like her? Like, okay, she's pretty and fun, but yeah, I feel like their relationship needs a bit more depth and a bit more development. But I feel like it's okay, because it's such a big story. You cannot develop everything in detail. That's why we have, I don't know, different genres, if you say. Like, if this was a romantasy, of course we were gonna have all the romantic drama and blah blah blah. And then if that was, I don't know, a crime mystery, then maybe Sadeh's murder will be on the front line and not just an afterthought, you know. So yeah, I think for a fantasy it's pretty well balanced. And then another thing, I feel like the more the story advances, the more complex it gets. It loses a bit of its focus because there's a lot of characters, a lot of things going on. For example, Nightblood, they just appear and disappear. Some characters appear and disappear. Maybe somebody said something 5 chapters away or 10 chapters away, and now it has a result, which is okay, but then the momentum is a bit lost, like the tension gets lost when so much is happening. And that leads to my final complaint, and which is the fragmentation of the story. Sometimes I feel like the chapters are too divided, and we switch too often between characters, and that sometimes kills the flow. Like, you're so invested in something and then you're drawn in different directions. Interludes sometimes do that, but with the interludes it's okay, because you have one arc finished and then you have to start another. Sometimes it happens in the story, and even in the final battle of Oathbringer, which was amazing, but it was so long, and sometimes we switched too fast. Like, it felt like the editing of a movie, and I said that in the other review. I feel like it does work if you have fast editing in a movie, but I don't think it works that well in a book, because the book is just different medium, and the way you switch between different places takes more time, because you have to just orient yourself with reading and not with just a complete immediate image. Some people have spoken about the prose. I think that sometimes the descriptions are very good, and the atmosphere is very good. Sometimes there is something about the way something is written that is a bit dry, and I don't think it's just the prose. It's more about tension. Sometimes tension is lost because of certain details that are inserted, like clothes or food or whatever, which is interesting, but there's just sometimes they kill the flow. And sometimes information is just given directly, but I don't think that bothers me so much. It mostly bothers me when it's fragmented, and I feel like the editing of the story could maybe be a little bit better, like the way events are arranged. I think I just was a bit frustrated in Oathbringer because certain things were hinted and not delivered, but very little things, like I was waiting for Teft to become a Radiant, right? There was this mini arc of him, but then he just appears and he's already a Radiant. Like, maybe a few sentences of him accepting that, I don't know. Then again, Zed just switched sides because he sees Dalinar and he's like, this is a cool guy, I like him. I understand you, Zed. I would do the same. But there was not enough interaction. They just accepted him. It was like, I mean. And then Kaladin is just seeing Shallan and Adolin together, and he's like, yeah, I never liked her anyway. I mean, these things are just very quickly resolved. I would prefer Kaladin to not like Shallan, and he would to see her as a friend, and to be willing to talk to her as a friend and seek her as a friend. And then when he sees them together, say, oh, I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they're together. but to have some feelings and then just disregard them seems too easy and fast. And also I feel like the feeling of the whole epicness now feels more like a superhero movie. Like in the beginning it felt like more like the fantasy, you know, and now it feels more like a superhero movie. Maybe because of the final Avengers Assemble scene, or maybe because now everybody has these superpowers, people are flying, and it's like, you know, Thor and Loki, and it's kind of a fantasy, but it's almost like sci-fi fantasy, and it's kind of superhero vibe. I like that. I don't mind it. It's just the vibe of the story kind of changed it from Way of Kings to Oathbringer. But that's not a complaint. I don't know why I mentioned it. I just love to talk about this story, and I'm making 1 billion videos talking about it, and I should shut up. So I will be back with more videos about this when I finish Rhythm of War, which is quite long, and that's it. Bye!